World War II is often discussed in terms of the major battles, political decisions, and well-known figures, but there are countless untold stories that can provide deeper insights into the war's full scope and impact. Here are a few lesser-known and fascinating aspects of the war. 1. The role of code breakers. While the breaking of the German Enigma code is widely known, another crucial part of World War II code breaking is often overlooked: the work of the Japanese code breakers. Japan's Purple Code was eventually cracked by the U.S., but it wasn't as well publicized as the work on Enigma. The U.S. cryptanalysts who cracked this code were integral in preparing for battles such as Midway, significantly altering the war in the Pacific. Additionally, the Venona Project is a highly classified U.S. effort that decrypted Soviet espionage messages. It revealed the extent of Soviet espionage in America during the war and the Cold War era that followed. 2. The Ghost Army. The Ghost Army was a secret U.S. military unit that used deception to trick the Axis powers. Their work involved creating fake tanks, sound effects of battlefield noises, and inflatable aircraft to mislead the Germans into thinking they were facing a larger force than they were. This helped the Allies avoid heavy casualties during key operations like the invasion of Normandy. 3. The Polish Resistance. While the French resistance is often celebrated, the Polish underground state, also called the Home Army, was one of the most effective and organized resistance movements in World War II. The Polish resistance provided invaluable intelligence, including details on German troop movements and Nazi atrocities. In particular, the Warsaw Uprising of 1944 is a lesser-known chapter of Polish resistance, where thousands of civilians fought against the Nazis in the hopes of securing their independence. However, they were ultimately crushed by the Germans. 4. Japanese-American internment. In the U.S., following the attack on Pearl Harbor, over 120,000 Japanese Americans, most of whom were U.S. citizens, were forcibly relocated to internment camps. This tragic chapter, often overshadowed by the war itself, was a response driven by fear and racism. Families lost their homes and livelihoods, and the psychological trauma endured by the internees lasted for generations. 5. The African American experience in World War II. Over 1 million African Americans served in various capacities during World War II, yet their contributions are often overlooked in mainstream narratives. In the military, African Americans fought in segregated units, such as the Tuskegee Airmen, the 1st All-Black Fighter Squadron, who distinguished themselves with bravery during the war. Additionally, the Triple Nickels, the 1st African American paratroopers, fought a unique war against Japanese fire balloons launched across the Pacific. 6. The Holocaust and the righteous among the nations. While the Holocaust is widely known, many individuals and groups risked their lives to hide and protect Jewish people from the Nazis. These heroes are honored as righteous among the nations by Israel's Yad Vashem, but their stories often go unrecognized in global histories. For example, the Dutch resistance, including people like Corrie ten Boom, hid Jewish families in their homes, and Oskar Schindler, a German businessman, saved over 1,000 Jews by employing them in his factory. 7. The impact on women. The role of women in World War II, particularly in factories and as part of resistance movements, has often been downplayed. Rosie the Riveter is a well-known symbol of women working in U.S. factories during the war, but women also served in other ways. For instance, in the Soviet Union, women fought on the front lines as snipers, fighter pilots, and tank crew members. Soviet women like Lyudmila Pavlichenko, one of the deadliest snipers of World War II, became legends, but their contributions often remain overshadowed by the war's male-dominated narrative. 8. The Secret War in the Himalayas. In the Himalayan region of India and China, a secret war took place as the British and Chinese worked to stop Japan from advancing into British India. The Chindits, a British Special Forces unit, made daring raids deep behind enemy lines in Burma, while the Merrill's Marauders, an American unit, fought in similar conditions. Both units, facing extreme terrain and supply issues, played key roles in the eventual defeat of Japanese forces in the region. 9. The resistance in Japan. While Japan is often portrayed as unified behind its militaristic government, there were some dissenting voices. A secretive group of military officers, intellectuals, and even civilians in Japan opposed the war. This movement culminated in the Kyujo Incident of 1945, where a failed coup attempt aimed to stop the war and prevent Japan's surrender. Though it was unsuccessful, it shows that not everyone in Japan was fully aligned with its military agenda. 10. The Forgotten Army of India. The Indian National Army, INA, led by Subhas Chandra Bose, was an armed force composed of Indian prisoners of war and expatriates that fought alongside Japan in Southeast Asia. They sought to gain India's independence from British colonial rule. Though their efforts were not successful, they represent an important aspect of the war, as they showed the complex interplay of colonialism, resistance movements, and global conflict. 11. The Nuremberg Trials and Legacy. The Nuremberg trials are often viewed as the ultimate reckoning for Nazi war criminals. However, the trials were controversial, as they set a precedent for international law, yet the Allies themselves were not immune from war crimes. For example, the firebombing of Dresden in 1945, which killed tens of thousands of civilians, remains a debated act of wartime atrocity that was never officially prosecuted. The trials also overlooked some war crimes committed by the Soviet Union, especially in Eastern Europe, where millions were murdered or sent to labor camps. 12. The war's long-lasting psychological impact. The trauma of World War II affected not only soldiers but also civilians in occupied countries. Post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, though not officially recognized at the time, became a long-term issue for many veterans and survivors of the Holocaust. The emotional scars of the war, particularly in places like the Soviet Union, where the death toll reached over 20 million, continue to influence generations. These untold stories remind us that World War II was not only a war fought on battlefields, but also a war of ideas, resistance, deception, and personal courage. The experiences of individuals from all walks of life and all corners of the world were crucial to the outcome and impact of the conflict.